class, we have discussed on a few statistical analysis, and one of the major ones that we discussed was correlation, person correlation, that can be used to investigate relationship or describe relationship among variables. Not only relationship you may want to investigate when it comes to your research variables, you may also want to check or test for differences. Okay, and in order to do that, we use what is called t-test for that purpose. There are different types of t-test. We have one sample t-test, we have independent sample t-test, and we have we have paired sample t-test, which this are what we'll be discussing in today's section. So at the end of today's class, you should be able to describe t-test and when to apply it in your research analysis. You should be able to highlight t-test assumptions about research data. You should be able to apply appropriate tests when research data fails all the t-test assumptions. You should be able to apply the right t-test in your research analysis. You should be able to differentiate between one-tail and two-tail t-tests. You should be able to perform one sample t-test on SPSS. You should be able to look up a critical value on student t distribution table. You should be able to compute paired samples t-test. You should be able to highlight the 3 ways to determine if one mean is statistically significant difference from one another. You should be able to work with independent sample t-test on SPSS. And finally, you should be able to present the result of a t-test. This, among others, are what we'll be discussing in today's session. I know some time ago we have seen how to compute t-test using Microsoft Excel, but this time around we'll be doing more. Okay, and this time around we are not using Microsoft Excel, we'll be using SPSS. So to start with, now, a t-test will be described as the statistical test that is used to compare the means of two groups. And it is often used in hypothesis testing to determine whether a process or treatment actually has an effect on the population of interest. Okay, it can also be used to test whether two groups are different from one another. For example, you may want to know whether the mean petal length of iris flowers differs according to their species. In this case, you find 2 different species of irises growing in a garden and measure 25 meters of each species. You can test the difference between these 2 groups using a t-test. Okay, and in that case, you may define your hypothesis. Your null hypothesis could be the true difference between this group mean is 0. That is, there's no difference. Or, the alternate hypothesis could be the true difference is different from 0, meaning that there's difference. Okay, so also, sorry, some words here. Okay, now, when do you actually use t-test? A t-test can only be used when comparing the means of 2 groups. That is pairwise comparison. If you want to compare more than 2 groups, or you want to do multiple pairwise comparison, it is advisable to use ANOVA test. So the t-test is a parametric test of difference, meaning that it makes the same assumption about your data as other parametric tests. What are these assumptions? The first one is that your data are independent. Your data sets are independent. Also, second one is that your data are approximately or normally distributed. How to test for normally distributed data, we'll be discussing that in our next class. Then the third assumption is that your data have a similar amount of variance within each group being compared, meaning that or the two groups being compared have the same variance. So these are the three assumptions that t-test assume about your data set. So if your data do not fit these assumptions, that doesn't mean that you cannot perform statistical analysis on those data, or probably those data sets are useless. No, they are not. You just need to use a different test on those data sets. And one of the tests that you can try is non-parametric tests, such as Wilcoxon sign rank test for data with unequal variances. So if your data has equal variance, there's other tests that also come under non-parametric tests that you can also do, that you can also apply rather. Okay, so now, what type of t-test can you apply, and when do you use that particular t-test in research? When choosing a t-test, you will need to consider two things. One, whether the group being compared come from a single population or two different populations. Whether you want to test the difference in a specific direction, or probably you don't have the idea of, you have no idea of the direction, you just want to test. So you have to determine this. Then if there is one group being compared against a standard value, that is comparing the acidity of a liquid to a neutral pH of 7, you perform a one sample t-test. That is, you already have a particular value that you want to compare against. Then you can perform a one sample t-test. If the group come from a single population, if the groups come from a single population, that is, probably you measuring before and after an experimental treatment. Okay, then in that case, you perform a paired t-test because it's coming from a single population. Now, if the group comes from two different populations, that is two different species, or people from two separate cities, okay, you perform a two sample test, t-test, also known as independent t-test. While performing these two tests, there's also two things that also need to consider, whether one tail or two tail. When do you choose this? Okay, if you only care whether the two populations are different from one another, then you can perform a two-tail test. But if you want to know whether one population mean is greater or less than the other, then you perform a one-tail t-test. So in the example given in the 2 slide ago, on the issue of petal length, so in that example we saw earlier, whether petal length differs by species or not, your observation comes from two separate populations, that's separate species. So you perform a two sample t-test in that case. And you don't care about the direction of the difference, only whether there is a difference or not. So you choose to use a two-tail t-test. I'm going to give an example now so you understand this better. Now, if you look at one sample t-test, this actually investigates if there's a difference between a group and the population. So in this example we'll be treating here, we're going to learn how to test whether two means are different or not using a procedure called one sample t-test. T-tests are easy to do in SPSS, just like every other analysis. As long as you have data, performing all this analysis are very simple. It's just a matter of click on SPSS. Interpreting them is the most complex part. So in this case, we are interested in the variable height. Okay, specifically, we want to know if our participants are taller or shorter than the national average. So in this case, we can have a research question that says, does my sample mean differ from the national average? Or you can also want to sample these people from a certain country. I want to know how they compare to the average Malaysian. That's another scenario. You can also want to test a group of people. A group of people may have a certain disorder, and you want to know how they compare to the typical average healthy person. In another scenario, a group of children who grew up eating a certain diet, and you want to know if that diet affected their height compared to an average child. In this case, your research question could be, does this diet affect the average height of children? So what I have is one group of people whom I have measured one time. So I want SPSS to calculate the mean from my sample and then compare that sample mean to another known mean. To do this, we are going to use a one sample t-test. Now, I believe you remember this sample, this data set. This was the data set we used last week, we created last week. So I've not changed anything. I still have the same valid 10 cases. 12 cases, but weight and height are having two missing values. The same definition for the variables are still there. So now, in order for me to perform this test, all I need to do, you go to analyze, then come to compare means, then you go to one sample t-test. So once you click on this one sample t-test, this window will open. Then, of course, you're going to have all your variables listed inside the particular box. Now, you need to move. Remember, we want to compare the height, okay? Now, look at this place. We are interested in the variable height. Specifically, we want to know if our participants are taller or shorter than the national average. That is our goal. So now, here, I'm interested in the height variable. So that's why I selected the height variable and put it under my text variable here. Then here we have text value. This text value can be gotten. Just imagine that we went to the scientific literature and we read that other people similar to this sample have average height of 147 centimeters tall. You can also get this from maybe the area of statistics, okay? Not only inside literature, depending on your use case anyway. So we got this from those channels and you enter that value into this place. So once you do that, the next thing is just so I want SPSS to calculate this sample mean and then compare it to the known value of 148. So that once you add this particular variable, you enter your value, your known value, you enter it in here, then just click OK. So when you click OK, you will have some output, something like this. So the first table contains our descriptive statistics. So we can see the mean, which is 148.2000. We have the standard deviation for this particular variable, which is height, which is 10.08629. And we have the standard error of the mean. Just here. We also have another table next to it, which contains our inferential statistics. And this is where we find out if the mean of our sample is significantly different from our text value of 148 or not. Okay. We have the t-score right here, the degrees of freedom. Okay. The degree of freedom is your sample, your entry, your number of cases subtracted by 1. Valid cases. Okay, here you have 10, right? 10 minus 1 will give you degree of freedom. And finally, the p-value, okay, that corresponds to the t-score at this degree of freedom, okay, which is 0.951. Now, in order for you to determine whether there's a difference or not, there are 3 ways to do this. One of the first method is to first look at the t-value, okay? Then you go to a particular table called student t-table. that I have here. Okay, student distribution table. So inside this table, this one you can get anywhere, okay, in any statistical textbook or even online, you can get. It's always the same everywhere and it's available for use. And you can also get it at the back of 4-figure tables. So we look up at a critical value. Okay, so how do we do that? We have your degree of freedom to be 9. So you come here, which is DF, degree of freedom is DF, represented by DF on your student distribution table. So you go to 9, index number 9. Then we are comparing this value against 0.05, which is under this particular column. So look at the value you have here. The value you are getting here is referred to as your critical value. Okay, the critical value here is 2.2622, which is greater than your T score or T value. Okay, if the T value is larger than the critical value from the table, then the means are different. But in this case, the T value is less than the critical value. So that shows you that the means are not different. Okay, so that is, but we have 3 ways. We have just confirmed from one way. So let's look at the second method. Now, the second method is to look at the P value, which you get under your significant total, which is 0.951. So when you compare this with 0.05, which is the cutoff for statistical significance that most researchers always use, where any values 0.05 or less are said to be statistical significant. But in this case, this value is larger than 0.05. So this is not statistically significant. The third method of determining significance is to look at the coincidence interval, which you have here. So we are testing a hypothesis that the mean difference was 0. So if the 95% confidence interval includes 0, then means are not different. And how do you know whether it includes 0? If you look at the lower value here, it's negative, and the upper value here is positive. So meaning that it crossed 0. Okay, meaning that it crossed 0. So now the 3 results, the 3 methods give us the same answer. So the mean of our sample is 148.20. It's not different than the national average of 1.8, which is the value we compare against. So it's not statistically different. So our sample was pretty much the same height as our comparison group. And if you look at it here, this is the mean of the sample, which is 148.20. And this is the test value that we use, which is also 148. So therefore, the findings are non-significant. And this is how to do a one sample test on SPSS. You compare your mean with a known value, a known mean value. Okay, so, and these are the 3 methods you use to do the comparison. The first one is to check this T value against a critical value on your student distribution table. The second one is to check whether your significant value is less than or is greater than 0.05. Depending on what you get, will determine how you're going to interpret your results. And the third one is to check your confidence interval. If it includes 0, then that means they are not different. This time around, it includes 0 because it's moved from negative to positive. So it cuts across 0. But if what you have here is negative value, and what you have here is also negative value, it means that it doesn't include 0. Or if what you have here is positive value, and what you have here is also positive value, it also shows that it doesn't include 0. So in that case, the means are different. But because it crosses 0, that means the means are not zero, are not different. Okay, so those are the three methods to do this particular investigation on sample T, on one sample T test. Now, that's not the only test that can be done. We can also perform what is called paired sample T test. In this example, we are going to compare two means from two measurements of the same people, of the same sample rather. So this is called a within subject design or a repeated measures design, or you can simply call it a paired samples. So when we compare two related means on SPSS, we use what is called a paired samples t-test. In this example, we have a single sample that we have measured twice. So you measure the group of people, then you give them a treatment, and then you measure them again a second time. If their scores on the post-test are higher than the pre-test, you know that the treatments had an effect. So in our data set, we measure the same people for both height and their weight. Okay, each person has a pair of measures. Of course, there is a fundamental flaw in this example because height is measured in centimeter and weight is measured in kg. But that's the only sample I can use for this moment, but just to show you the illustration. So we'll be comparing two complete different measurement scales. This should be the case of your own in the real sense of it, okay? So a better example would be to have a before weight and then put people on a calorie restricted diet. And then 6 weeks later, measure them again to see if they have lost weight. So the t-test should use the same scale of measurement. This is very, very important. Okay. Then this example is just for illustration purpose only, just to show you how it is done. Now, again, we go to analyze. We'll be using the same data set I showed you earlier. So you go to analyze, you click on compare means. Then this time around, we are no more doing one sample t-test. We are now going to paired sample t-test. So we want to compare height to weight. These are our two scale level variables. If you remember while declaring the variables, the measure we selected with scale is scale. So move over the variables that you want to compare. In this case, we want to compare height and weight. So we put our height here and we place our weight on the variable 2. Okay. Then once you are done with this, you just click OK. Again, you just need to drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop. Okay, then just click OK. Now here, something is very important that you need to take note here. Although I'm still going to explain it in the future. I mean, in the next slide or so. If you have selected weight, if you put weight in variable 1 and you put height in variable 2, it's still okay. You're still going to get the same result. But the only thing is that you may actually be having some negative result and positive result, depending on the value of your variables, depending on your data set. Okay, but in any case, whether you put it in variable 1 or variable 2, you're still going to get the same result. The only thing is that you may have negative or positive, but whether you have negative or positive, you are still going to interpret it the same way. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean by that in short while. But in any case, you drag and drop your weight into this place and you drag your height into the variable 1 and you click OK. Now, once you click OK, you're going to have your output window here. So the first table contains the descriptive statistic for each variable. And here you can see your mean, okay, and the sample size, okay, the standard deviation, and the standard error of the mean for each variable. Okay, the second table here contains the correlation coefficient between the two variables. Okay, then the third table has our infection statistics. On the far right, we have the t-value, which is 21.93, and the degree of freedom, the p-value that corresponds to is t-score of 21.91 if we run to 2 decimal places. Okay, And so as before, we want to know, are these means statistically significantly different or not? But me looking at it here, you see that the mean are really different. But how do we know from this result? Okay, because the mean for the height is 148.20, and the mean for the weight is 58.40. Okay, but how do you prove this from this particular result? The first thing, we are going to use the same method we used earlier. So, 3 methods to check this. The first one is the t value greater than a critical value that we look up on our student t table. So our critical value on student t table on a degree of freedom, on a 9 degree of freedom, is 2.262. Okay, and our t value here is 21.913. Okay, meaning that t value is much higher than the critical value. Second method is to check the p-value, which is 0.00. Whether we want to check whether the p-value is less than 0.05. So in this case, our p-value is 0.000, which is way less than 0.05. And finally, which is the third method, is to check the confidence interval. You check whether the confidence interval crosses 0. In this case, it does not, because both the upper value and the lower value are positive. You can see positive 80.43, 0.43988, and positive 98.96012. So they are on the same side of 0. Therefore, we conclude that this means are statistically significantly different. Okay, and if we look at it from here, you see that the value of your mean here is far higher than the value of the mean of this particular variable. But again, to further prove that from our efficiency statistics, it shows that all the tests tells us the same thing. Tells us that they are significantly different. So note that if you have a negative value, this was what I was telling you earlier. If you have a negative value for t, let's say here you have minus 21.913, for example, it means that the second group had a higher mean than the first group. So if you had placed weight up and you place height down here, for example, based on the order I showed you earlier in the previous slide, then you will be having the same value but negative. Okay, but a negative instead of positive to be negative. Now, therefore, you interpret a positive t value exactly the same way as you interpret a negative t value. You don't need to focus on whether the sign is positive or negative, because the sign simply tells us which group was entered first or second. So you should look at the actual mean when you interpret these findings. That is how we do a peer sample t-test in SPSS. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Here, if you put weight on variable 1 and you put height in variable 2, then your t value over J will be giving you negative value because you'll be subtracting 148, to be computing based on this. So in that case, your height will be, the mean of your height will be more than the mean of your weight. So as a result, you'll be having negative value here, okay? But you are still going to have the same value, irrespective of the sign. So whether you have negative or you have positive, it doesn't matter, okay? Just focus on the value and interpret it accordingly, okay? So that is how to do a paired sample t-test on SPSS. Now, We can also perform what is called independent sample t-test. Now, in the previous slide, we learned how to compare means when the same samples were measured twice. So in this test, we are going to measure one group, maybe males, and then measure a second group, maybe female, and then see if the mean for males is statistically significant difference than the mean for females. So two groups measured one time. Because each of the groups are independent of each other, we will use an independent samples t-test. We will be using the same data set that we created in our last class. This is one we have been working with now. So we need two groups. The variable gender will work nicely for this group. We have male and female, okay, inside this place. So we need to measure the groups on something that can vary. So we measure height and weight so we can answer a question like, is there a significant difference in height between males and females? In this case, the research question could be, does average height differ between males and females? Okay, so to do this, all you need to do is go to Analyze, go to Compare Means, and select Independent Sample T-Test. So once you do that, it comes here, you add your two scale variables, which are your height and weight. You add them inside this place. So once you do that, then you drag and drop gender into the grouping variable. But you notice that here you have some kind, this place is highlighted in yellow, and your OK button, your paste button are currently disabled. If you notice here again, you see there are some question marks, okay? Meaning that you need to specify the coding scheme for this particular variable. So coding scheme means how are the levels of the nominal variable coded, okay? So 1 and 2, okay? So how do we do this? You click on this button called Define Groups. Okay, click on this button called Define Groups. So once you do that, it will bring you to this place. So you need to tell SPSS what are the two groups. This is because there may be times that you are using a categorical variable coded for multiple groups, such as level of study or level of education, which could be foundation, diploma, bachelor, master's, and PhD. So you have to specify which of these groups are you trying to measure, okay, or include in this particular analysis. So it may be foundation and diploma, it may be bachelor and diploma, it may be bachelor and master, it may be PhD and master, it may be PhD and bachelor. Okay, you have to specify this inside your define group window. So we have to specify which of the groups should be compared. To do this, we click on that define group, and that brought us here. And then for the group 1, we enter 1. That is the one that we use for male. And for the group 2, we enter 2. That is 2 for female. Then we click continue. So that will bring us, then you now realize that here, both question marks have been replaced by the values we supplied here. And now your OK and paste button are now enabled. So the next thing you need to do is just to click on OK. So once you click on OK, your output window will display. So we get one table with descriptive statistics, which is always at the top. It tells the sample size, okay, and the mean, okay, and the standard deviation and the standard error of the mean. Okay, now below that, we see the table containing the inferential statistics. Okay, we can mostly focus on the middle part, this part that is kind of highlighted in red. We have the t-score that are all here on the same column, and the degree of freedom of our two groups, and the p-value that correspond to the t-score at those degree of freedom, which we use to determine if there is a significant difference or not. So note that for each t-test, there are 2 rows. For each t-test, there are 2 rows. each with different results for the test. Okay, then the top row is for equal variances assumed. The second row or the bottom row is for equal variances not assumed. So remember that there are three ways to determine statistical significance. So we compare our t-value to a critical value that we look up in the table called student t-table. So now, if you look at this place, our degree of freedom for A is 8. So come here, you see that the value we are saying here is 2.3. Hello, are you asking a question? Okay, so if you look at this place, here under our degree of freedom, we have 8, right? Then if you come under this 0.05 that we're using, we see 2.3060. Okay, this will be the same critical value for both of these t-tests because both have the same degree of freedom. For height, the t-value is 0.866. So you have it here, which is less than the critical value of 2.306. Okay, when the t-value exceeds the critical value, that is, if the t-value here is greater than this, okay, then the means are statistically significantly different. Okay, that is for height. But in this case, no. So we can also look at the probability value to see, that's our p-value, to see if it is less than 0.05. The p-value for height is 0.412, which is larger than 0.05. So p of 0.412 is greater than 0.05. The p-value for weight is 0.645. 0.645, and which is also larger than 0.05. Now, lastly, we can look at the confidence interval to see if it crosses 0. Then you can see all of them crosses 0. All of them crosses 0. So for height and weight in this case, the lower values are negative and the upper values are positive. So not different. So if both lower and upper values are negative or positive, it means the confidence interval does not include 0. Were there any significant difference for height or weight? Height and weight were not statistically significantly different. Okay, and if you look at the values you have here, yes, please. How you know the C value on B? Because in previous we check on my, yes. If you look at this place, we have we are using two variables, right? In the previous one you're talking about, we have just only one variable. Here we have only one variable. Sorry, coming. We are doing only one peer test here, right? So peer test. We're all doing one peer test, but here, this place, we are separating this. So this will be taken as one group, this is taken as another group. So that's why, but this is the degree of freedom we're getting here is 8. The degree of freedom we got here from that result, you can see it's 9. Here, the degree of freedom here is 9. That is why we check for, that's why we're looking at under 9 degree of freedom here. Based on the result you have here, determine what the value you'll be looking at under this place. Okay? But in this particular one, our degree of freedom is 8. Is 8. Our degree of freedom here is 8. Okay, so that is why we are comparing with this 8 value. I will get it here. Okay, whatever you get here will determine how you're going to interpret your result. So height and weight were not statistically significantly different. And if you look at the value here for height, for gender, male and female, the gap is not really much. And even for weight, for male and female, the gap is also not really much. So it's not statistically significantly different. Now, how do you now present this result? How do you interpret it? How do you present this result? When reporting your t-test results, the most important values to include are the t-value, the p-value, and the degrees of freedom for the test. This will communicate to your audience whether the difference between the two groups is statistically significant. So you can also include the summary statistics for the groups being compared, namely the mean as well as the standard deviation. So you can have something like, let's say for the first example I showed earlier, you can see the difference in petalings between iris species. One, open brackets, you have the mean. Mean is not necessarily you should write it as you can just put M, or you can write it in full, the choice is yours. Is equal to 1.46, semicolon, standard deviation is equal to whatever value you have, and iris species 2, you have mean to be this, and standard deviation to be this, was significant at the value T, and this will be number at the side, the N you have, and is equal to whatever value of T you have, then P. P is less than 0.05, but sometimes if this is what you have, then you can straight away put the exact value that you have here. But in some text, you can see them putting P less than 0.05 or 0.01, as the case may be. Okay. So now, in summary, so far as I know, you now know and have some experience with how to create a variable in SPSS. You know how to examine variables using descriptive statistics such as measures of variability and measures of central tendency. You know several ways of creating graphs that we have done in our previous classes. We also learned a bit about inferential statistics that we just did. I think we did some last week as well. So you learn how to test if two variables are related using correlation. That's what we did in our previous class. You learn 3 kinds of t-tests that can tell you if two means are different or not. All this we have covered so far. So please, I want you to go back, check what we have done, and see how they work. And if you have any challenges, you can always reach out. But before I go, I want to, some of you asked a particular question last time. Send me a message and I said I'm going to discuss in the class. The question is, although it's outside this particular section of statistical analysis and computer application, the question is how to formulate research question. I believe it's here now, right? Let me check. Yes, you're here. Okay. So now, how do you formulate a good research question? A good research question is essential to guide your research paper, project, or thesis. Okay? It pinpoints exactly what you want to find out and gives your work a clear focus and purpose. So, in order for you to create or formulate a good research question, follow these simple steps. Step 1, choose a broad topic. Okay? Choose a broad topic. Go with the topic that sparks your interest. I think I discussed this in our first class. Whenever you are choosing your research topic, don't meet anybody, don't meet your supervisor or anybody to give you research, or to give you a topic. If you ask them to give you a research topic, when you get stuck, are you going to meet them to help you out? Majority of them would not help you out because they may not be available at that point in time. You may get frustrated, get demotivated and the likes. So it's always better for you to choose what you actually like, what's actually interests you. So then also you will be spending more time on this particular area. So it's not something that you have to be going meeting somebody again. You have to choose something that you have passion for, something you are passionate about. So in this example, I just choose something like social media, just for illustration purpose only. You can follow the same style, okay, in order for you to come up with yours as well, to formulate yours as well. So step 2, do some preliminary reading about the topic. I've already shown you how you can get articles, how you can search articles about your keywords on different methods. And for some of you who are in medicals, who are in allied health, I believe you have access to your LLS, right? If you belong to your PhD portal. If you go through your PhD portal, there's a place where you can actually have access to iClinics, something like clinical key, if I'm not mistaken. Clinical Key is a platform that's where you can get all sorts of medical related materials. Okay, so please go there and take advantage of all these materials. That is how you can broaden your knowledge and for you to know what is actually going on in your particular field. I also remember that I think I discussed with you on a tool called Connected Papers. If I've not done that, maybe I'm going to do that later, but I think I've done that. So Connected Papers will also assist you to extract relevant articles to your area of research. Take, for example, if I choose social media, for example, or I choose medical, or I choose allied health sciences, or I choose whatever, maybe I choose cancer or whatever. So that particular connected paper will crawl relevant paper that discuss about that particular subject in detail. It's going to crawl them for me. Then I can now look at them in order for me to know what people have done and in order for me to know how to fill up and also for me to know the available research gaps. So in any case, once you have determined your topic, you need to do some preliminary reading about the topic. What I'm saying in essence here is that you don't just read, okay? Make sure you are reading relevant paper. And how do you get relevant resources? Is through all these search engines, okay? And a very good tool in this regard is Connected Paper that will help you to get this kind of assignment on portal. Should we do it by just please hold on, okay? I'm going to reply that. So, for example, a lot of newspaper and academic research at school have been writing about how social media negative impact on the student academic performances, especially during the pandemic when most of the classes are delivered online. And these students also happen to be one of the most active age groups on social media. Okay, so this is some kind of finding regarding this particular topic that I've chosen. So for step 3, narrow down to a specific niche. Okay, by doing this, you can make sure the research is within a feasible scope instead of something too broad to achieve in a given time frame. So you don't do something that you cannot complete. Okay, and there's no how you cannot solve the entire problem facing the whole world. Okay, all we are interested in is you must have a contribution. And when you are looking at contribution, you are not just looking at contribution in terms of literatures. No, you have to think of contribution in terms of field contribution as well as academic contribution. Okay, contribution, no matter, there's no contribution that is too small and there's no contribution that is too big. Okay, as long as you have a contribution, you are good to go. As long as you're doing PhD, you must have contribution, no matter how small, no matter how little it is, you must have contribution. So since academic performance is too broad, we can narrow it down to attention span. Okay, so then step 4, identify a research problem. So since we already established that undergraduate students are one of the most active age groups on social media platform, but only scarce amount of research has been done on the effect social media has on the young generation attention span. This will be our research problem. So the next step is to write your research problem. So you formulate your research question from this research problem that you identified here. So what will be your research question in this case will be, what effect does daily use of Instagram have on attention span of people in the age group of 17 to 25? Okay, we are going to demystify this in the next steps. So now you have already created your research question. Now, how do you now test whether this research question is good or not? Okay, you need to check your research question against the following checklist. The first on the checklist is focused. A good research question should be focused. It shouldn't be too ambiguous. Okay. Now, our research question focuses on a single problem of Instagram's effect on the attention span of undergraduates. So the research question is, what effect does daily use of Instagram, not social media this time around, not Twitter. It can be Twitter, it can be Facebook, it can be whatever. But at least you have to pick one. Have on the attention span, that's another keyword, of people in the age group of 17 to 25, not youths, not undergraduate students, you get, not young people. There's a specific age bracket for that particular, for our target group. So that is one, it has to be focused. Two, researchable. A good research question should be researchable, meaning that the answer to your question can be found by collecting empirical data or through existing literature. In the case of this example, we can go for a quantitative approach like using eye tracking or mouse tracking to measure the attention span. Number three, feasible. A good research question should be feasible. So you should ask yourself whether it is doable within a certain time frame. Okay, do you have access to the data you need or right kind of respondents? It really depends on your situation. If you don't have access to the data, then you drop it. You go for another one, you go for a different topic. But if you know that you have access to it, then you can embark on it on the journey. So in the case of this example, it will be fine, it will fit more into the time frame of a longer project. So it won't be feasible for an assignment you have to hand in within a month. So it's more or less a long time or long-term research work. And another point on the checklist is specific. A good research question should be specific. All the terms you use in the research question should have clear meanings. Okay. Notice how I don't use the word often, but I use daily. Okay. What effect does daily use of Instagram have in our research question? So instead of using youths or undergraduate or students, I use a specific age group, which is age group of 17 to 25. Your entire dissertation should be carefully planned and orchestrated, even down to the specific wording of your research questions. And the next point is complex. A good research question should be complex enough. If the research question can be answered with yes or no, or with easily found facts, then it is not complex enough. Okay? And lastly, relevance. Make sure your research problem is relevant to your field of study or society. In the case of this example, social media is pretty much all we use now. So that is definitely relevant to society. So, and it also targets a currently unanswered question, contribute knowledge that future research can actually build on. So keep in mind that in a research paper or article, you will usually write only one research question. Okay, but for a bigger project like your thesis or whatever, you can develop multiple research questions and at the same problem. For example, you can have your research question one as what effect does daily use of Instagram have on the attention span of people in the age group of 17 to 25? Or research question two could be, does the infinite scroll function on Instagram contribute to the effect on attention span? This can be, and it can continue, it can go on like that depending on your requirement. But in any case, this is how to formulate a research question, and this is how to check whether your research question is good or not. Now, I believe I've answered your question. Now you're talking about assignment. Assignment on portal should do it by our own, or you will give guidelines to come. No, I'm not going to give the guideline because the assignment, like I told you, is a requirement. Okay, it's a requirement that you need to fulfill. But what I'm saying is that don't put your energy on your research more than this, because the assignment is just a matter of you doing some findings. And I think I sent a screenshot of it on the group. If you have read it, you know that it's something that you just have to go online and read up and prepare a particular report, prepare your slide, and you upload through your LLS and you submit. It goes straight to the CPS, not to me. Okay, so it's a requirement that you need to fulfill. And again, I don't think there's any timeline for it, but again, just try and do it. It's certain you can finish within a day or two, okay, depending on how much you have devoted time for it. So within a day, within a few hours, an hour or two, you can finish that particular assignment and get it done. Just matter of go online, read about whatever they have asked you, prepare a report about it, prepare a slide about it, and you submit. Okay, I think the file that needed to be submitted are also stated on your LLS portal. So that shouldn't be a problem for you. Okay, have I answered your question? So I've shared the attendance list, the attendance link, please. So if you have any issue or any question, please let's address them now. Any other question? Any other question? Okay, so in the absence of none, I'm going to post, I will post the slide as well as the link into the group for those who could not join, even though a lot of people actually joined. I didn't know I was going to get this number. So for those who could not join, they can always watch the link and the video, and that is the. But again, please try to practice. No. See, you have to understand something. There are some, when it comes to PhD, nobody is going to, there's nothing like A, B, C, D, E, F grade. Okay? It's just pass or fail, especially for this kind of courses. Then when it comes to your Viva, there is no correction, there is minor correction, there's major correction, and there is, I think there's rejection, if I'm not mistaken, rejection or fail, if I'm not mistaken. So as for this particular coursework, it's a requirement, like I said earlier, credit on the graduation transcript, and if not done on time. No. There's no penalty. But you have to do, like what I said, it's a requirement. And even if you look at your LLS portal, you're going to see where you're going to upload and fill it up there. So it's a requirement that needed to be done, but just do it within your first semester. It's something that doesn't take time. But please focus more on your research work, because that will take more time and more energy than this assignment. The assignment is something you can finish within a few hours. Okay? So there's nothing technical or something difficult in the assignment. Okay? That's why I said focus on your work first. The assignment can be done later. But if you want to do it now, it's also fine, because eventually you're still going to do. Okay? Because it's a requirement. It's a requirement. So you must do it. I think that if you don't fulfill that requirement, they may not allow you to go to the next stage, especially from the portal. Okay? So please do prepare your report and upload on that platform. The instruction on how to go about it is there. So take time to explore. Take time to explore the LLS portal, okay, for you to capture or for you to understand how it actually works and all the information that are being provided on that particular platform. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. You still agree? So a report should be descriptive or what nature? The question they have asked you, dear, hold on, let me see. I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh, let me just hold on. Okay. So I'll be using one of the student login details so you can see. So just log in.
Greetings and welcome. This is
Now, this your LLS portal. I will believe you can all see my screen, right? Can you see my screen? No.
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Okay.
Yes, Professor.
So now, if you look at this place, I know some of you went ahead and checked this place. It is normally maybe that's where you're thinking something is. This is where you upload your files. I've requested for the assignment 1, assignment 2. Oh, sorry, this is for a different one. Of course, you have to do the 2. And I think the questions are not the same. Actually, the questions are different. And here you have assignment 2, assignment 2, assignment 3, assignment whatever. These are just presentation slides that you should prepare and upload here. This one you prepare a report. And if you look at this place under the announcements, you have important message regarding uploading documents, template for presentation, coursework, assignment submission details, research publication notifications, orientation and seminar, semester 1 coursework schedule for whatever. So this one is, I think you have already passed this place. And here, if you have any publication you have made, I think here, this is where you come and there's a place where you need to upload the publication on this same platform. Then for coursework and assignment, this is where you, if you click on this place, this is where you have information about the coursework. You can see it was posted by the postgraduate student school. So now, if you look at this place, how can we effectively use the Okay, I will quickly show you now, just so that study. So now, if you look at this place, they have good day, CPS, blah, 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 blah. This is for research methodology. This is the classes you have so what is the nature of the report? Descriptive. It should be descriptive. Okay. Then here you need, but you have to follow the format they have given you. Okay. For this one, application of regression analysis in research. From the topic, it's just you can make it descriptive. Of course, just follow descriptive. Okay. Application of regression analysis based on the topic here, it has to be descriptive. That's for assignment 1. Assignment 2, efficacy of advanced statistical method used to ascertain the progress of the society. All these things are just type this, type this and go online. Then you can, you can get all sort of whatever here. Even there's a particular article here, right? Look at the side gates. There are a lot of papers you can check here on this particular thing. So this is just normal Google. You can, if you go to Google Scholar, if you go to Google Scholar, Just type, put the topic here. Come here. You see a lot of articles here that discuss about whatever they have asked you to do. Okay, so it's very simple. The assignment is not a difficult one. It doesn't have to give you any form of headache. Then here, objective of using IT tools in research. It's also very simple, very straightforward. Just read about all these things. Then use that to prepare your PowerPoint slide. Okay. Then secondly, for seminar presentation, these are just presentations. Utilizing statistical analysis tool for scientific research. Just prepare a report on this and prepare a slide on it. Okay. Then also attach the template for your assignment for your kind of blah 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 blah. They even give a word, okay, 2,000 words, 5,000 words, and they give you format. Okay, just follow what they have given you here. Okay, so now that is that about your assignment. Now you are talking about library. I've done this with some of these some students in the past, so I can briefly go through again. Carry mark. Okay, so now I believe you can log into your LLS portal, right? Mr. Hagri. So if you can do this, it's fine. You just come here, student, you click on library for general library, then you can bring it to this place. So here, someone is still, sorry, let me stop sharing. I will share again. You see? I see one there. Why you decide to continue to be drawing on my screen? So anyway, so once you come here, if you look at this place, you have about five tabs. The first one is general library, where you can have access to all the materials within the school library. So if you come down here, you see you have different departments. You have allied health science, business accounting, computer history, depending on whichever one you are looking at. You select, then you can choose whether you want to see a book or you want to search by author. Then if you look at this place, you have all sorts of materials. SIM stands for student instructional material. Then resource video, tutorial, practical, blah, 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 blah. Maybe what you'll be looking at here is maybe ebook or journals, or PDF, book or newspaper, or case study, or even article. Choices, yes. So in my case, let's say I want to choose something on business, for example, business and accounting. And I come here, I just want some books or business and accounting. So I want some book, I just click on this one. Okay, then I click on search. It's asking me to enter search criteria. Let's say I just click on accounting. Just click on search. So now when I click on search, I should have some results displayed here. I think you have to hold on for a while, maybe the system is loading. But now you should have your results here. Sure. So you need to wait for a while. So just wait. Aha. So the result is here. So I have some articles on accounting. Okay. So let's say I want this third one, or I want this biology concept. I can just click on this view. And when I click on view, the articles will be open for me. I think that I have something here that was some instructions here. So here, just like what we had in the previous whatever, you can straight away just click on this, and this book will be downloaded to your local system, to your machine. Okay, so from there you can go through on whatever you want. Okay. So now, assuming that I don't want that one, so I just close this. I think you are asking another question. on how to check different articles. We're talking about articles. That's what I just did, right? You can choose whichever one you want. Whether you want article, you want journal, you want this, you want this. But these are the materials within the university. Okay? Or whatever you're getting here and what you get within the university, that is inside the university library. Okay? But it is also allow you to go out. Okay? So you can click on ebook central. For ebook central, there are some materials here that will guide you on how to go about it. Also, no issue. You can just click on, all you need to do is just to click on this button called click here. So once you click on that button, that will bring you to this place. So here, what you need to do, if you are signing up here, if you are coming to this place for the first time, you need to request for accounts. Okay? When you click on request for accounts, then you fill up this form, but make sure that your email address is correct, it's a valid email ID, okay? And make sure your password is not less than 8 characters, okay? And don't put empty space. Then under this place, you can straight away say, just introduce yourself, give your name, give your student ID, and give your program, and just please, just put whatever phrase you like. Please, I need account or whatever. So, or put down the request. So, and click on this place as I do. Then click on this request account. So, once you do that, you may get it immediately. You may get it maybe after 1 hour or 30 minutes, depending on when you make your request. Okay, so once you get the request, you come back to this particular place. You will enter your name and your email, and enter your password and click on sign. So once you click on sign in, this is what you get here. This will bring you here. Okay? Then you can search for whatever you want. So if I want to search for mobile or web wireless communication, I click on that place, and I click on search. Then from here, I can get access to whatever book that I want. Okay. Then here, I can also sort. What maybe I can sort by subject, I can sort by year. Okay. Then also, I can also check on chapters. Okay, these are the chapters of a particular book. So anyway, so now here you have about 4 options here. So this first one, if you want to download the book, before you have to see that this description is interesting to you. Okay, then you can also click on this particular something to read more about the book. So you can read the book online, you can download the book, okay? You can download PDF chapter depending on your interest. So this is how to go about this particular platform. And these are the chapters of the book. You can read them chapter by chapter, or you can read them, you can download the whole book, or just go to the chapter that's interesting to you. So that is that on this particular one on e-book section. This page you can also go to Google Scholar from this platform on the internet. So here, all you need to do, click on this, and this will bring you here. But this is not what you want. These are just the profile of some of the lecturers in LUC. So you don't need this. So just click on the Google Scholar logo. So once you click on this Google Scholar logo, this will bring you here that you can simply type your keyword or whatever, and you follow the normal what we have learned in terms of Google Scholar earlier. Okay, so then the search gate. You can also from here go to the search gate. Just click on this search gate and click on this button or click here, and this will bring you here. So this place, if you don't have account, you need to sign up. Okay, if you don't have account, you need to sign up. So in my case, I just log in on my accounts. I just log in. So when I log in, it brought me here. Okay, so all you need to do is just come to this place and you search for whatever you once. So in my case, I want to search for something on management. I just press management and I press enter. Then that will bring me to this place. One of the interesting aspects of ResearchGate is that it links you up with other researchers in your area of research. Okay, so you see, we have a tab called researchers. So here, these are researchers on finance and management, management industrial, management academic forum, management schools, blah, blah, blah. So if you want to join any of them, you can just follow them or just let's say you want to collaborate with any of them, you can just message or follow them, okay? Then from there, you can link up and start to work together. And if you're interested to work in a certain project, you can click here. So they have already listed their project. This one now said that finished the project, meaning that this project is no more active. But this particular research new compound, maybe this one is available. You can click on it and read about it, and you can see any of them that is okay. You can straight away have a look and see if you're interested to join any of them. Then you can straight away go there and join them, and you can become a co-researcher in those particular projects. Then this is publication, which is kind of the reason why we're here. So for publication, you come here, you can see some articles are available. Please, you don't have to disrupt, you don't have to interrupt us, right? You can do your talking, whatever you want to do, while you mute yourself. So now, as I was saying, if the author has uploaded the article, they're going to see this download button. Then you can straight away download it. Okay. But if the author has not uploaded the article, let me see. Like this one now, this author has not uploaded this article. So in that case, you need to request for full text. Just click on this and request for the full text. But in most cases, in a lot of cases, the author may not actually reply unless if it is author that's always online and always pay attention to ResearchGate. So to get this particular article, it's better for you to just follow that person. Then in any of their trend, you can make a comment or even make a request to this particular article from that trend. Okay. Then from there, they will get in touch with you. They will notice you, and they're going to get, and they're going to respond to you accordingly and pass you the article. But for those who have actually uploaded, you're going to see this download, and so you can straight away download whatever article that you want for free. Then for questions, this aspect is also very important because if you had kind of, I always say, you don't just go online and just go and take. Okay, always think of what can you do to contribute to other people's research as well. So come to this kind of place, and also you can also learn from their questions or from the responses from others. Okay, so if you look at this place, if you click on this particular, these are the people that have responded to this particular question. So if you have an idea of this question, you can also just click on answer and enter your own response. At least you have contributed to that person's research in one way or the other. Okay. Then also you can also post your own question too. Okay, but of course you have to do it through your account. Then from there, the question will come here somewhere here. So then you have jobs. If you need to join some organization in terms of research, then you can straight away come here and you can view them. Then you can straight away apply to those jobs. Okay, some are from Ghana, Australia, United States, Mexico, Denmark, and Lex. So you can get in touch with any of these people, and if they find you interested, then they can straight away get you. You can get some kind of, especially for some of you who may be interested in postdoc or research fellow kind of thing. And if you want to get information about some institution regarding management, you have them here, as well as department. So, but in any case, the major reason why we're here is on publication, and that is how to get publication from this particular platform. Okay, so that is that on ResearchGate. Now, clinical key. This one is important for those who are in allied health field. So all you need to do, you come to click here. Remember, notice that we have username, user ID, and password here. Without these two guys, you cannot access this particular search engine. Okay, so you need to pay attention to that. So now this will open. By now, you can see I've not logged in. So if I want to search for anything here, from here you can choose what you want, whether you want book, journal, clinical overview, clinical trials, drug class overviews, drug monographs, guidelines, patient education, multimedia, procedure videos, clinical calculators, and likes. So clinical calculators and clinical focus. In my case, I just want to check for a journal. Okay, so I want to check journal on let's say cancer, something like cancer radiation, something like that, cancer spreading. Okay, so this is what I want. So I just click on search. So you see, it should be asking me to set cookies, no problem. It will be asking me to log in, but of course I have a few things here. So, but before I can have access to those articles, I need to log in. So I click on login. So here I have my username and password that were given here. Okay. So once you have that, you click on login. So with that, I can straight away search again for my say, I just say cancer cell. Then I have all these articles regarding my search. So, and when you log in, you're going to see Faculty of Medicine, Local University College of Malaysia. Then here you have your articles. If you want, you can straight away download it through. Just click on this article, this icon. Okay. Of course, you need to read on this description, and if you want to read more about the description, just click on the. Once you click on the topic, this will bring you here. Then you can read the abstract. This is the abstract of the article. So if you're okay with it, you can also read the whole paper online. Okay. So the choice is, so after you've read through and you're okay with it, you can straight away download the article. And how do you do that? Just click on this icon, and this will open for you on your browser. Then from here, you can straight away click on this article, this icon, and the article will be downloaded on your system. So that is how to work with your library or general library on your LLS. Okay, I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Agri.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, thank you. So, and also, I hope you have seen how you can get for other articles as well. So, these are the ones that the school is providing, which you can also use. I believe we have also treated some of the search engines in the past, which you can also use depending on your interest and requirements. Okay. So, any other question, please? Any other question? Okay. So, in the absence of none, I will call it a day. So, thank you. Stay safe. I'll see you again next week. Bye.